Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Tamara Makabanga from Kasi Insight, and today we are having a chat with Fatima. Fatima, could you please introduce yourself to everyone that doesn't know you too well?
Hi, Tamara, and greetings from Accra, sunny Accra, unlike your cold SA at the moment. Hi, everyone. My name is Fatima Alimohamed. I am the CEO of African Brand Warrior, basically doing strategy, marketing, and really feeling the pulse of the African consumer.
Awesome. So for anyone that doesn't exactly know what strategic marketing is, could you please define it?
Okay, so basically, there's an assumption that marketing is all about putting a logo and having it on a label, get some colors and put it out and put some name. But it's not about that. It's all a strategy, and I tell people marketing is a science. It's like going to a doctor and saying I've got a headache, but at the same time, a headache could be something that's happening in the head, but it could be something that's triggered from the stomach, or it could be an infection. So what could be the trigger? So that's the same thing with strategic marketing. It's a strategy. You go in, it's a science. You understand the market. You look at where the players are. You look at where do you see yourself featuring? Do you need to feature? What are the trends that are happening? Do you understand your consumer? Are you looking at business from more inside out as a business, as a company? You're looking at what you want to put out there, or should you be looking at through the consumer's eyes? What is the current pain point? What is the current problem that they're facing? What solution are you able to provide? Because marketing is all about that. It's being able to provide a solution to a problem, and sometimes the problem could exist. Or it could be envisaged, going forward. So strategy is about bringing all that together, and it's also about working interdepartmental. So marketing cannot work in isolation with finance. It cannot work in isolation from production. It cannot work in isolation with the quality and the research and development. So strategy comes in to look at all those elements internally, externally, from a macro, micro angle, and say, okay, if we're going to play in this field, then what is it that we need to be doing? How different should we be? And what is the right impact that we can make? So it's looking at things from a very holistic approach.
I see. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And do you think that strategic marketing comes in place like at the beginning of a business, or can it be implemented like within the business while the business is already running? When do you think strategic marketing has to come in?
The best point is when you're starting, because honestly, otherwise it's like one blind man leading the other. And more important, it has to start with data. Data is so crucial because if you're just going out there with a blank canvas, a sheet, then you don't even know what direction you should be going in. You don't even know what the market is doing. You don't even know, for example, what the current market share is. What are your competitors doing? Is there a competitor? Could you be seeing a niche? This all comes in from data first. So ideally, it makes sense to do it from the start, because it means that you've actually created a blueprint. You've put your thoughts down. You've identified, what it is you want to do. You've created sort of a roadmap. You've done your planning, you've done your checking, and all that. But to be fair, a lot of organizations, some of them has actually started, like, let's quickly get in there. I've got an idea, let's move with it. And it's worked. Again, it depends on the scale of it, but at some point they are going to have to go back into that element of, okay, now let's sit back, evaluate what we've done. What have we done great? What could we do better? And how can we go across this? So strategic marketing at some point is also going to come back and play in that space. So it's never going to not exist. It is going to exist. Ideally, it makes sense at the start, but you can always introduce it later when you feel that you got to a point now that you need to evaluate everything again.
Awesome. I just want us to quickly touch back on data. So you're saying that every business needs to use data in order to get started. But let us dive deep into data. Like, what type of data are we talking about? How do you make use of the data once you have it in front of you?
Okay, so first things first, I think people look at data just as it's either graphs or it's numbers, or wait a second, so-and-so has brought in this, or wait a second, this is the current market prices we're collecting from our competitors. For me, that's just data. Data needs to be converted to information. Okay, so you get all this stuff sitting there. how can you convert it and break it down to say, okay, what is this information that I'm getting out of this? Okay, so it's like literally sitting in and zooming in and looking for those nuggets that you're finding. And then it's going to be moved from information to intelligence, because that's what data is supposed to be providing you. Because there are certain things that are in there and you're mining. It's not about, oh, filtering, whether it's an Excel sheet and just saying, okay, what is in there? Who are the people that might have brought this? It's actually going in and saying, what is this meaning? Could this change in, for example, so for me in data, if I was to work, I would look at import data, for example, of what's coming into a country. I would like to see who are the players. I'd like to see which markets are they bringing it from, because then it tells me whether we have, a certain client has an advantage producing it locally vis-a-vis something that's coming imported. You'll be able to know, what taxes they're paying. So you know that, wait a second, this is where the person has advantage. They're either avoiding, paying duty, or, for example, at your end, you could say, wait a second, my products are cheaper. Why is, this guy selling it at this price? So you start getting that. You're able to know what markets they bring it from, because then you know what tariff barriers were, what duties that are applying to that. So again, what benefits you have. So you start sitting with all that, and you're saying, wait a second, I see a shift, I see a change. That intelligence comes in. You could find out that, for example, the reason somebody has all of a sudden gone onto a promotion and has dropped their prices could be that they had imported a certain number of items and they're probably getting close to expiry, or they have another stock that's coming and they quickly want to get rid of it. So that straight away tells you, should I go and follow suit? Should I, do a price change? Or should I just maintain because you're going to run out of stock at some point? So, and those are just some of the examples of how you can, and data can be even research. I mean, consumer insights is so crucial. You need to understand what makes the consumer tick. What is the pulse? What is their pain point? It's not about just going out there and saying, hey, do you like brand A or B? Which one do you like? Which one do you use? It's also about understanding that during their day life, where does this product feature? What kind of things do they do, that plays it? It could be in the shopping mall. It could be wherever. And now that we've moved away from, with whole social distancing and COVID having taken place, you can see that there's a trend that's also happening, more on the e-commerce platform. Are we doing analytics to find out what are consumers doing? Where are they getting in? Why are they doing it? At what point are they doing it? Which channel are they using? Where do they go when it's coming to do with shopping? Where is it that they go to do when it's coming just to do, online grocery, or is it restaurant shopping? That kind of stuff. So data for me is so crucial. And again, it depends. It's different facets of data that one can look at.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much for that, Fatima. Okay, so I just quickly want us to discuss, your business and how you basically come in between like companies and agencies. I know that is what you do, and I just want you to explain to the audience exactly what it is that you do as a company and why it is so crucial.
Okay, so basically African Brand Warrior, I mean, the name itself just tells you that it's about working on the African continent and it's working with African brands. Warrior, why? Because obviously being a Kenyan, Maasais were all about, holding the shield. Warrior comes in from the aspect that it's about defending, defending whether it's your nation. In this case, it's defending your brand in the battlefield. You're going in there to fight with different brands. It's not about a bloodbath, but it is, if you look at it, because you have links to pricing, shares, the impact it has to the bottom line. So basically, African Brand Warrior comes in because of a gap that has been identified between the client end and the agency end. A lot of times, clients always have gatekeepers within the organization who want to present information based on what they know, because it's got to also have a feel-good factor that, we cannot showcase this is the problem that we're going through or the challenges that we have. And marketers, will obviously interpret data based on the way they want. So I have seen situations, for example, where there's this whole fight about, when you talk to people about their market share, and they will come and tell you, no, I've got the highest market share right now because so-and-so sold this much, I sold that much. And I'm like, okay, let's stop. That is not market share, that's your sales share. Market share is dependent on how much is being picked up by the consumer. As soon as they pay, they pick that is market share. So obviously there's that lack of understanding as well in terms of what really are the different types of information that is out there and how you can use it and how can you benchmark yourself. You also have angles where obviously a client would like to, it's been its history, it has continued to date where clients try to hold back a lot of information, especially when working with third parties, because obviously third parties, whether it's agencies, advertising agencies, communication agencies, PR, research agencies, you're not only tied in with one client, you're open to various clients. You may be signing an NDA or whatever, but they have this fear factor of if they share this information with you, this is how much we sell, this is how much we dropped by, blah, blah, blah. It could be used against them, to give information to the competitor, or they're sort of judged on it. So they hold back certain things, which then means you're not being given the full picture of the business. So if you don't get that part, then it also means that your output is not going to be great, because you're not going to be able to match up to what needs to be done to meet the requirement and to address the issue. So if it's a communication strategy, if you've given me only 60% of the information, I could be producing a communication strategy that it's also going to probably only give you 60%, or it might give you even lesser because there's some things that are not covered in there. Okay, so African Brand Warrior comes in and says, okay, how can I work with the client? And at the same time, it's not working only with the marketing department, it's working with the different parts of the business, because marketing also has a restriction within businesses, and the way businesses work, the finance team hate marketers, sales team fight with marketers, marketers don't get along with production. So, everybody's trying to blame the other two. African Brand Warrior comes in to sort of be the holistic center that creates and works with everyone, understands what the problem is, and then knows, because having come in from that background and also having worked with an agency in the past, I've been both on a client side and agency side, so you do know what the kind of information the agency needs, where you're still able to protect, the privacy, but at the same time, you're giving them enough to be able to use, to create the output. And then you're coming from the agency side as well. We need to appreciate that most of the agencies to date are more of communication agencies, they're advertising agencies, or research agencies, or PR agencies. Now you do have a lot of businesses coming up that come in to offer you the strategic direction, but then they only offer you strategy, but are not able to offer you the communication and everything else. So African Brand Warrior comes in as a bridge between the two, and then works with the client side and works with the agency side. I stand to be corrected, and I'm putting this officially out there, it's on record. If you speak to any of the advertising agencies that I've worked with to date, having started African Brand Warrior, we're not doing anything less than #1 brand, because the communication now is so seamless because you're thinking on behalf of the client, you know what you want to achieve, and it's now not working as an outsider, you're working as part of the business. So you look at, where do I want to take this brand? What do I see it can achieve? So you create that vision for the brand, you articulate it, and then you present it to this. So there's no miscommunication in the process. So you end up coming out with things that, makes the client, the agency very happy in the kind of work that they're able to now bring out. And it makes the client also feel, wow, we've got it right. So that's where African Brand Warrior comes into play.
Nice. I honestly believe you're doing absolutely amazing work, Fatima. I just quickly want us to discuss, what do you think, from your work that you've been doing so far, what do you think some of the biggest challenges that African brands are facing?
I mean, the various brands. First and foremost, obviously, is the understanding of what marketing and branding is. Like I rightly said. And let me just put this is not an issue only with new startups, and new businesses. It's also with existing businesses that have been running, for years, donkey years. And as you grow a business, every day you learn. It's like, a child, as they grow up, they get new experiences in life, and, they want to try different things until they get to a stage where they can say, okay, this is who I am, and, this is my identity. So the same thing with businesses that is happening. So for me, the challenge first and foremost is African brands that sell to Africans are not making the same effort that they should be putting in selling to our own than if they were selling it outside Africa. So for example, if somebody is in shea, shea butter, cocoa butter as well, here sitting in West Africa, you see amazing brands that get created for sale in the US and in the UK. Amazing stuff. You see the packaging with gold foil, with laminate printing. Even the bottle shapes are not your typical, just standing bottles. They go in drawing pouches. I mean, they go the whole hog. You go into the market here, either you're not going to see the brand, or you're going to see some really crappy stuff with just a label printed, that by the time you put it out, the ink is even going to run out, so you don't even know what to read as the instructions. So I feel so bad because my belief is this. We're obviously, if you look at it in terms of population, okay, we're larger than what you can do in terms of export because you're never going to be able to have that, number one. Number two, when you send out, you send out money to procure something from the asset, whether you're importing something, be it a raw material, a product, or whatever, that dollar goes out. It's never coming back. And that dollar is going to build somebody else's economy. Your $1 out of Africa is going out, and it's going out there, giving somebody else a job. So when you're importing a car, for example, your dollar is going to pay the salary of the guy who's making the car in the US or Germany or wherever else. And it's not coming back. So you're helping to contribute to that. But when you use that $1 here, it rotates. I mean, I don't know what the dollar is to the rand at the moment, but to the CD, it's
17 rand.
17 rand. So can you imagine 17 rand rotating at least 8 times? It changes hands 8 times. Because by the time you go into a shop, you buy it, the shopkeeper is going to then use it to give it to the company that it's going to buy from. The same guy is going to send it out, it's going to go to a distributor point. It's rotating, okay? The same thing here, $1 is 6 CDs. 6 CDs is going to rotate by the time it goes round. But once you sent it out, it's never coming back. So my challenge is, how can African brands first understand that we've got a huge potential within the continent itself? We do not need to shortchange ourselves. As much as we think Africa is the same, it's not. We're very similar in a lot of ways, but we're so different in many ways. And now with the continental free trade coming into place, it means there's such a huge opportunity for West Africa to come into East Africa, to come into South Africa. There's an opportunity for South Africa outside ShopRite, and coming in here and selling products that are at another level. We have East Africa. There's so much that East Africa can do to sell into South and sell into West. So have we thought about that? Have we looked at the opportunity? Because, for example, right now, again, if I just go back to shea butter, cocoa butter, West Africa is the largest producer, 70%, globally comes out of here. Why does somebody have to buy a product from America in Kenya with containing, probably just only 30 grams of shea butter? How can we create a brand that is going to be able to go and sell into Kenya out of West Africa direct? So those are the challenges. One is thinking Pan-African, thinking that yes, our consumers deserve to have the best just as much as they would as an international brand. Third is also the knowledge, knowledge of what marketing and branding is about, because you can do certain things. You don't have to do it in huge ways where it doesn't require billboards, it doesn't require TVCs. We can still, it starts with the packaging. You've got to be able to have that pick-me-up feel, to say that, wait a second, this is made in Africa. I mean, look at what our teas and our coffees, when I fly around and I go into a Java and I see a Kenyan pack and I see I'm just so happy. But why can't I get the same thing back home? So these are things we just need to start believing in ourselves first. And we need to believe that we are also have a right to get the same brands, instead of having people come in and use Africa as a dumping ground for other brands that come in here. We can do the same.
100%. I just want us to quickly touch on, I know you're talking a lot about brands within the B2C space, but how can you market yourself as a B2B? How can you productize yourself beautifully, so to speak, if you're working with business and you're offering a service and not a physical product?
See, first and foremost, I think business to business is crucial, because for those businesses that also have consumer products, if you are not identified as a corporate in the right space, in the right frame, among the right people, your peers, forget those who don't even buy from you, it has an impact. It has an impact to what your brand is going to eventually stand up for, because if it does not tie in with the image that you have from a corporate perspective, nobody's going to have faith in terms of what you execute. It's like a parent and child. If a parent is of a certain stature, credibility, you would expect that the child is also going to follow the footsteps. But nobody would believe that, you know, a child turns out as a drug addict from a person who, let's say, was a judge or a president of a country, because it doesn't make sense. So that's one part. Then when it comes to B2B, it's even more important right now because everyone is a supplier to the other. Everyone is a customer to the other. Even if you look at internally as businesses, the production company, the production department, their clients are the marketing team. Okay, and for the sales team, their suppliers are the marketing team. So everybody also internally as a business is a supplier to the other. Rightly say, business to business as well is crucial. So for example, right now, when you're going to an e-commerce space, if you're not running something as a business and you do not have the facility to do that, you're going to have to be working with an e-commerce business to be able to sort of get your vision, you know, be seen in reality. Now, if you're not engaging the right business, if that business also doesn't understand what your problem is, what is your issue, what is your pain point, they're just going to create you a site that's going to say, oh, we're here to sell your products, but they don't understand anything about your products. So again, just the way I started with, you know, client and agency relationship, one business with another business still also needs to have that cohesiveness, that understanding, and they need to understand each other's businesses to the extent of what is it that I do and what does your business do that will be able to either propel or scale up what I'm doing, or how can it give me more, amplify what I'm doing, you know, and in the same way, using branding and marketing as the same thread across. Because ultimately, even as a business, you know, when you're speaking, whether it's a business speaking to a financial institution, there's got to be certain core values that have to tie in, that comes in from the brand itself. What does this business stand for? You know, so it's a financial business part, and it's a corporate, you know, whether it's manufacturing or another financial institution. What are the two things that you both do that represents the values of each one's business? So it still ties back to the same ethos of what the brand stands for.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I just want us to quickly touch on COVID-19. I know a lot of brands have been impacted by that, and I'm sure our audience wants to, you know, hear some tips and advice about, you know, how to brand themselves around this time, how to brand themselves moving forward, and what are some of the opportunities you believe, you know, are available to brands in Africa post-COVID.
I think now they should call it COVID-20 because it started in 19, we're still carrying it into 20, and it's here to stay. And I actually created an acronym for COVID, which meant creating opportunities vested in desire. You know, basically we all have, you know, a desire, you know, for the airports to open so we can fly back, a desire to get back to our works, you know. But the key word in this whole COVID was the opportunity, creating opportunities. And I just feel this pandemic has really created opportunities. I've maintained and I've said that if anyone comes out of this phase, which is still going to be here, without having learned anything, whether it's a new skill or a new way of business or a new way of engagement, or even personally, you know, a new learning, then you've actually wasted your life, because then it means that learning was not the issue. It was you as a business that is an issue, or you as a person, you know, had an issue. First and foremost, a lot of things have changed. I would just say probably they've just come more to the forefront. But one learning that is here is that be it the government, be it businesses, be it consumers, and be it individuals at home, have all learned that we were never prepared ever for a situation. If you were told the world was coming to an end tomorrow, we're all running around like a headless chicken, you know, either looking for toilet paper or whatever else. But, you know, we haven't understood, we basically shows that if we were ever thrown in a situation, we're not prepared for it. Businesses did not do a business continuity plan. That God forbid if, you know, the MD or the chairman of an organization was going to be in a situation, what happens? Banks didn't realize that anyway, they were never lending people money. They always made it so difficult to give them money. But now the trust factor has even gone to the level where now banks are scared of lending you money, because if they lend you, they don't know what's going to happen. They might not get their money back because you're in a situation as well. So it means in every facet we've had problems. If you look at personally at home, not having to work with your mates right now because you're scared, they're coming from outside, would they be carrying, COVID or whatever? So are you capable? Do you know how to cook? Do you know how to clean your own house? So it's across the board. It's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for everyone. But when we come to businesses and branding, first and foremost, if you ask me the area of opportunity is localization. Because what we've learned in this COVID, I'm seeing it happening in South Africa, it's happening in Kenya, it's happening here in Ghana, where all of a sudden this light bulb lit and we realized we can make our own face masks. We don't need to import it. Oh my God, we can make our own PPE. Hey, wait a second, I can do a ventilator. All the stuff that we could have done anyway. It didn't need a situation like so. It shows that we can do a lot of things. At the same time, because borders were closed, everybody was importing, we realized that we were so dependent on external factors, and external people having to feed us, when it means that we can actually, we grow, for example, here in West Africa, we grow yam, we grow cassava. I mean, if they grow 365 days of the year, what can we do to feed our own people? Which means that we can create innovation. Innovation comes in, as a mother of invention. And this is the perfect opportunity. So localization is the first thing. Secondly is obviously the angle of agriculture. It clearly shows that agriculture is where we need to focus. Because if you're able to feed your nation, nothing else matters. People don't need to go hungry because the situation that was created, you could see that now because of lockdowns, XYZ, farmers were not able to sell to, the brokers. Brokers were not able to bring it into markets, and then markets were not able to sell to consumers. So the whole value chain got affected. So it gives us opportunity. And again, data comes into that because right now, there's this assumption that agriculture is for the poor, and it's only poor people who should do agriculture, And I'm coming from the school of thought that, wait a second, God created only one custodian for this earth, and it was the farmer, because he felt there's only one person he could trust, to put food on your table, and it was the farmer. Now, the farmer is aging, because if you look at the farmers in Africa, these are people of the older generation, and they're dying. How can we bring the youth with their knowledge of technology, with their knowledge of looking at data, with all these things about social media and handles, how can we take the young and the old and merge the two and see opportunities in there so people don't have to rush out of rural areas to come into the urban area looking for jobs? How can we create jobs and opportunities within the rural areas? So again, it's just a matter of changing mindsets, perspectives, and having that can-do approach and attitude, and knowing that, yes, it is possible. We just need to understand that for me, it's not a new normal. It's basically just saying the next phase, because we're just going to keep changing. Every time you do something new is a new normal. So time immemorial, we were still doing the new normal. So we don't need to talk about this new normal. It's a new phase. You keep changing your phases and you just keep moving on. So innovation is crucial. And COVID period has really shown amazing stuff that brands and companies are doing to reach their consumers, even while they're sitting at home, innovative, and still getting you to buy, or thinking about it. At least they're going to be in your mind throughout that. When I get out of this situation, oh my goodness, I'm dying for a KFC burger. That's what I want. So yeah, opportunities there. We just have to wear those glasses.
100%. Fatima, I honestly don't want to take too much of your time. I know you are a very, very, very busy woman. So where can everybody reach out to you if they want to, get a hold of you, get in touch with your company? How can they reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn as Fatima Alimohamed. If they go on the website, they'll find African Brand Warrior. It's got the contact addresses all there. But I prefer people reaching out on LinkedIn because it's also a good way to create a network. You might have something that I need, and I might have something that you need, or somebody else might have it, and I can connect you to that. So COVID is all about connections right now.
No, definitely. Fatima, thank you so much once again. I enjoyed having this discussion with you, and I believe our audience will enjoy watching the recording as well. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.